Joe, just to start off, I mean, what was your reaction to Kevin getting traded, and did you have any expectation of it possibly happening after Kyrie this week?
I was like everybody else. I woke up to it with a lot of text messages from friends and, you know, yeah, just complete surprise. Don't think a lot of us saw it coming. But, we talked about it after the game the other night where, the trade deadline is, a lot of unexpected things happen, especially here over the last couple of years. And not that we expected it by any means, but you kind of, you prepare in your mind for a lot of different scenarios. And, it's unfortunate to lose a guy of Kevin's stature, his ability. And, he's been with a few of us for over the last 4 years. So it's tough, to see a teammate like that go. But at the same time, this is the nature of the NBA. And, we all have a job to do to keep going out, doing our job, competing, regardless of, who's on the squad. And we're going to try and make the most of, the lineup that we have now in this new look Brooklyn Nets.
And then kind of going off, I mean, you being the longest tenured player on the team, you've been here for the rise before them, and then obviously now after that kind of chapter closes, what would you kind of make of it now that it's over?
Yeah, I mean, this is my 7th year here, so I've seen a lot. I've been a part of 20 win teams with the lowest expectations in the NBA. And then I've been a part of, some of the teams that we've had here recently where our expectations were through the roof. And then a little bit in between, where we've had guys, develop over time into really quality NBA players. A lot of people that came through here when Kenny was here, and we had more of a player development emphasis. And now we have this team where it's obviously really early, but the energy around the group feels similar to what it was like when we had sort of those development years where guys were, kind of finding themselves, but there was just a good energy around the team. Everybody tried to play the right way, competed, played hard, bought into what the coaches were preaching. And, hopefully we can get to that point with this group that we have now.
Joe, when you said you woke up to it, was this in the middle of the night or normal time that you wake up and saw?
No, it was around like 7:30 this morning. Yeah.
Okay, and obviously just new players, kind of a new look. Just what are your immediate impressions of what this team could do with these guys that you're adding in terms of play style and how that might change?
Yeah, I think, it's obviously really, really early. But everybody that we brought in, I think tonight was a little bit of a taste of it. Obviously, McHale and Cam will join us against Philly. But it's, guys that are trying to play the right way. We don't have a legit superstar talent where you can just toss them the ball and know that, they're probably going to take and make a lot of tough shots. So it's more of by committee. But I think, everybody that we've brought in their own right is a very talented player and elite at different things. And, if we can get everybody, together on the same page, I think we can be a very competitive team.
Joe, when you think back to the KD and Kyrie era, what sticks out to you about the time with those guys here and what was accomplished and what ultimately was not?
I think mostly about how just, unfortunate it was just to not have everybody, whether it was health or COVID-related protocols or whatever else it might have been, not to have a fully healthy roster and see what we were capable of accomplishing. Even a couple of years ago when we lost in the second round to Milwaukee, I think there's a lot of, thoughts of what if, just because of the talent that was on that team and what we felt like we were capable of when everybody was playing.
Joe, we talked to Sean before the game, and he said last night, like initially he was sad when he made the trade because of Kevin's going, sort of having to turn the page. But since then, it's like he's excited about the future. He's excited about the guys they brought in. Like, just like from an emotional perspective, like, what's that kind of been like for you in terms of like processing that information and how you felt about it initially and your thoughts on it.
I think whether it's trade deadline or free agency, it is sort of one of the unfortunate parts of the NBA where, I mean, I don't know how many teammates I've had since I've been in Brooklyn, but it's probably like over 100. So, that is one of the unfortunate things, though, where there's just constantly so much turnover. Yeah, I think, you got to look at it through a more of a optimistic, positive lens where you're focused on what you do have, and you're hopeful to get this thing to a point where, we might not have the superstar talent that we've had here the last couple of years, but I think we still have a team that, with the makeup that could compete and compete, for, I'm not going to go out on a limb and be talking we're going to compete for championships right away, but I think we can be a really competitive team in the Eastern Conference, and I think we should, hold on to that and hold on to that optimistic outlook.
Joe, do you think that some of the drama and some of the craziness of today affected you guys in the beginning of the game, and then sort of what got you going there with that 6 3-pointer second?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't think, I thought that was really crossing through a lot of people's minds. I think once the game started, we were just locked in on playing, but it's also one of these things where this is our first, I mean, we haven't even practiced with Spencer and Dorian. They came in and we walked through plays yesterday after they got cleared from their physical. So it's like, and now they're in the starting lineup a night later. I think it was just everybody kind of just to try and figure out each other and how we were going to be playing. But once that started, once the rhythm got there and everybody was able to kind of settle in, we started playing really well and played really well together.
Now Spencer coming back here, you guys had obviously those teams that seemed very close, before KD and Kyrie got here. Not that you weren't close then, but do you have a close relationship still with those guys from that past team? Like, do you guys stay in touch? Is Spencer a guy that you've been in touch with throughout this time?
Yeah, definitely. All of those guys that we played with, whether it's Karras, J.A., Spencer, D'Lo, even some of the older guys, Jared Dudley, Damari, Ed Davis. That was a tight-knit group and probably one of the closest NBA teams I've ever been a part of. And so even, when guys were traded away or left in free agency, whatever it might have been, you still maintain those relationships. And, that's why it's pretty cool, the fact that Spencer has come back around. It felt like a long time, but I think it was only actually like a year and a half, which is kind of wild. Yeah.
Joe, kind of going off that, I mean, you talked about coming in here when it was like 20-win seasons, and you guys had maybe as bad of a situation in the league with no draft picks, et cetera. Now you've gotten, as you said, younger players, draft capital back. I know you're not Sean, but just what do you kind of make of the situation you guys are in now versus the one you kind of stepped into when you first got here?
I mean, anything would be better than what, you stepped in with. There were literally no draft picks. You're trying to get creative with how you're bringing in young players. I mean, it was great for people like me and Spencer and a couple of other guys where it allowed us as young players just an opportunity to come in and play. But, yeah, I think now, they've obviously made the most of a pretty tough situation. But I'm not, I'm not in the front office, and I'm probably not going to be playing in 2029 or whenever some of these picks are going to be. So,
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.